I'm heading out into my garden to show you what's been going on there. Welcome to my January garden video. I thought I would be brave and start my series on my garden in January. Now, as you know, gardening in January, it's not a thing of beauty. My garden is not at its best, but I wanted to start sharing its transformation with you. I wanted to show you how it looks now, what I love about it now, what I don't love so much about it, and the plans I have for the future. And I also wanted to show you my favorite plants for this time of year. One of the main changes I've made actually in the garden in the last month is this arbor. It wasn't here before, and a lot of people thought I was a little bit crazy to add yet another seating area to my garden because my garden is not particularly big. To give you the context, first of all, I'm in Edinburgh in Scotland. I have a south-facing garden which is roughly 10 by 17 meters. So I'm very lucky. I have a very generous sized garden, but it is by no means huge. And as I take you around my garden, you will see that I have quite a few sitting areas already. But I'm a huge believer that sitting areas are the way to create a garden that you want to be in. So I have many different sitting areas that serve many different purposes. And this one here is a new one. We got it, well, my husband got it for me as a Christmas present. It was on sale, as a lot of things are in the garden centres at this time of year. So it's a great time of year to get yourself a bargain. So it's been here for nearly a month. I've painted it. The colour is Monkey Puzzle by Farrow and Ball. And the main thing I love about it is that it's a lovely place to sit when it's raining. My garden doesn't have that many places to stay dry when it rains, and I'm a huge lover of being in the garden no matter the weather. So I love to come and sit in here and drink my cup of tea. And because of where it is, this is a north-facing wall, and because of the predominant rain and wind direction that we have here in Edinburgh, which is kind of this way, the wall acts as another shelter. So I was very intentional with wanting to put this here because it gives me a space to enjoy the January doom and gloom, which might sound a little bit weird, but you know, our weather here in this lovely country, it can be very dreich, it can be very wet, and anything that allows you to enjoy the garden at this time of year, to stay cozy at this time of year, I think has to be a good thing. This is another sitting area in my garden. It's not far from the arbor. The arbor is just there. We are on the terrace, and this is actually the first sitting area that I put into my garden. The terrace when we moved in was much larger than it is now, but I knew that this was just a lovely place, was always going to be a lovely place to sit. So we put a table out here. This is actually an indoor table that I need to treat for the outdoors. But it's been out here for about 6 months and it's doing okay. Here you can see another one of my sitting areas. This is the egg chair that the kids and I absolutely adore. It's got roses planted around it that, again, I'm hoping soon will be gorgeous. There's a little espalier fan-trained apple tree over there. In the raised bed here, I have a plum tree. All of these things will be just beautiful very soon. And there's Archie doing his best to climb into the raised bed. I couldn't do a series on the January garden without talking about my pond. Now I am sitting here on my pond viewing platform. this is the pond as it looks right now. You can see my little puppy in the background. There won't be that much happening in the pond just yet, but as you can see, there are a few things growing around it. The wildlife that we've had in there in the last year, the pond was put in March of 2023. So it's not been in for very long, but we've already had tadpoles that turned into the most cutest little frogs, and we've had quite a lot of newts in there already. So I can't wait to see what this season will bring. I also can't wait to see all the plants grow up around it again. Over there, the little straggly thing in the corner was a nepeta, hopefully will be again. And up there, these are my arches. I am very much hoping that the rose at the bottom of it, Wollerton Old Hall, will do me a big favour and grow up all around it and really give us a lovely show in the summertime. But I've also planted a lot of ivy around the bottom of it that I'm hoping will cover the arch and give us a really beautiful kind of tunnel. There's some work going on around, so sorry about that noise. Will give us a lovely tunnel effect. The undisputed stars of my garden at this time of year have to be the evergreens, and I'll show you a few that I have growing in my garden. This here is a juniperous blue arrow. It's a conifer, which a lot of people aren't very keen on, but it never grows very wide and it tops out at 2 meters. So it gives you a bit of structure and a little bit of interest at this time of year without taking up too much space. This plant was undoubtedly more of a star in my garden last month. I have my very own Christmas tree in the garden. This is a Korean fir tree, and even though it is obviously a Christmas tree, I still think it looks gorgeous at this time of year. And what my children and I often do is we decorate it with bits of fruit and pine cones that we roll in peanut butter and seeds. And as you can see, the birds have picked it completely bare. So it's a really lovely, really sweet little craft to do with the kids that the birds really benefit from. To get a bit closer to the evergreens, I do still have a few box balls in my garden. I know in a lot of parts of the country they have been really problematic, but here in Edinburgh so far it's been fine. I also have a little pittosporum here called Irene Patterson, which I just think gives a lovely bit of colour, being a bit brighter. And then the undoubted stars of my garden at this time of year have to be these little beauties, this little hellebore. It's been flowering for more than a month and it's still growing, still going strong. I also wanted to show you some of the seeds that I've started growing this month. So here you can see a little Cobea scandens poking its head out of the soil. This is actually the main seed I wanted to grow at this time of year. They take a really long time to get going, but once they do, they're just absolutely fantastic climbers that will give you a lot of coverage really in a year with lots of lovely flowers. So they are really, really excellent. So this is actually the main seed that I wanted to grow at this time of year, but as I always do, I got slightly carried away. Here in the foreground, these are little hollyhocks that are doing their thing. In the background, those are a selection of different wallflowers. A range of different colours. I haven't grown them before, so I was quite interested to see how they would do. These here are little foxgloves. Now you can see that they're all growing that way. I just turned them around because they were actually all growing towards the light. This is one of the problems at this time of year, that seeds will, if you're just growing them inside at a windowsill like I am with these, they'll keep turning towards the light, so you need to keep turning them around. But yeah, so this is a little selection of foxgloves that I've got growing, and behind it some rocket, some pea shoots, and outside I've got my sweet peas. I will show those to you as well. Now I've got seeds growing inside at the moment, but I also have quite a few seeds growing outside because whilst seed growing season hasn't fully started yet, there are a couple of seeds that I would definitely recommend you grow at this time of year. And as I always do, I got carried away. So I said I was only going to grow 2, and I'm growing way more than that. But I would definitely recommend You don't have to do that many. In fact, I'm going to regret growing that many, but there are two that I would definitely recommend. These are sweet peas. I started them at the same time as all the other seeds. So these have only been growing for about 11 days, but they were growing very quickly inside. They were actually growing too fast because it's still only January and I didn't want them to get too big now. So I've moved them out here into the cold, which is totally fine to do with your sweet peas, because they are a fully hardy plant. And the nice thing about the cold weather is that it'll encourage them to develop their roots rather than shoot up. Because as I say, you don't want them to get too big yet. It's a long way from flowering, but what we do want is for them to get really, really good roots. And the other seed that I would definitely recommend you start now is a Cobea scandens. It's a cup and saucer vine, and I've got a few of them. I put them into the soil the same day as the sweet peas, but as you can see, the sweet peas are already quite far ahead, whereas the Cobea are only just now starting to grow, and many of them haven't yet. So be patient with them. They really can take quite a while, but they are an absolutely fantastic climber, absolutely brilliant, and they'll be perfect for, you see that pole there? I've got quite a few vertical spaces like that pole, that have got things like clematis growing on them, but the clematis is really small and it's going to be quite a while. Let me tilt you up. Do you see those lights there? There are wires going across, and what I really want is I want there to be plants growing up those vertical spaces and covering those wires. So it's going to be a while before the clematis will be able to do that, but something like a Cobea scandens is perfect to give you a bit of colour, a bit of growth now. Well, not now, this year, to give your perennials a chance to grow up. I have 3 projects for 2024. One of them is to finish painting the conservatory. It is currently, well, it started off mostly white. My intention is to paint it black, and you can see I've made some progress with that already. And this here is a climbing rose, an iceberg climbing rose that I'm hoping to have climb up around it. And you can see a few little bulbs are sticking their heads out of it already. Another major project that I have lined up for 2024 is a pergola between those 2 trees. Haven't done much about it yet, but I'm very excited to see what is going to come. And the third and final project is to tidy this up and have our own little veg bed growing in there. I also promised myself that I would do a little walkthrough of the garden in every one of these videos, so you get to see how things are developing. So this is me coming out of the conservatory door. There is the vegetable bed, the raised bed with a few things growing in it, but not an awful lot at this time of year. But there are some buds starting to emerge. Over here will be the pergola when I'm finished with it. Walking through the garden, over here, got the egg chair, the pond area, going through our arch. And as we continue around, got the fire pit, the little water feature on the middle terrace. Oh, there's another project I am thinking about, which is making some sort of rill from the water feature up there along here into that one there. I've always got many, many different ideas. Here is our Christmas tree, and then heading back down into the garden. As you can see, there is a lot of scope for improvement, but I'm very excited to see what this growing season will bring.